So good afternoon everybody, and a very warm welcome to Milton Holland Districts, and my name's Susannah and I live with trains. I had to think about that for a minute. So today is a little bonus video. It's a Susannah's Come Build With Me video, just a little mini video, so hopefully it won't take too long, but you're going to learn two things. Well, I'm going to show you two things, and whether you choose to do it is entirely up to yourself, but hopefully it will help somebody. Basically, I installed the lighting last night on here, not all of it, but some of it, and I come across a bit of an issue which I sort of knew, and it was highlighted. So I'm going to address it today, and then that will be number one part of the Susannah's Come Build With Me, and then there's also a second part to it, which is a very easy and fun thing that anyone can do. So let's turn the camera around and show you the reason for Susannah's Come Build With Me and what you're going to be seeing in this video today. So today's Susannah's Come Build With Me is all about that signal box over there directly in front of you. And the reason why that's going to be the subject of today's Susannah's Come Build With Me is because, firstly, I'm going to show you how to make these little tufts of your own. And that's a really fun little thing that anybody can do. It's really easy and you don't need any experience, and it will save you a fair bit of money. The other reason, and the other thing I'm going to show you for the Susannah's Come Build With Me is basically, let me just explain it to you. I'm going to switch the lights off to show you. Well, I might even be able to show you this from here. Yeah, you can quite clearly see from here that the lighting in my signal box isn't very even. As you can see, you can clearly see that the lighting is far brighter on this side than it is on this side. And that is because on this signal box here, I didn't actually use the LED strips, which I have been using all the way along. So essentially I just used the same LEDs, which you'll find on these yard lamps here, instead of the strips. And so basically what's happening is that the light is coming out from that corner and then it's filtering through across the signal box, but it means that the lighting isn't very even. So I'm going to address that as well. So those are the two things we're going to find, we're going to do today. As a bit of a bonus for you, I have actually done some modelling this morning as well, which I think you're going to be really pleased about. Forgive me if it's a bit wibbly wobbly because you're off the tripod, but it's the only way I can get up close and personal. But this is the building that I showed you yesterday, but it's now, as you can clearly see, it's lit up. But I don't know if you can also see, it's actually got some detailing inside the building now. So I've detailed the inside of the building with some people, ticket machines, vending machines, and also the station sign. Also, there's a destination display. I hope you can see that. I'm going to see if I can zoom you in a bit, so bear with me a minute. Let me see if I can. There you go. Hopefully you can see that there's actually some of the, I mean, obviously the canopy's in the way, but you can see there's timetables in there, there's posters, all sorts. And there's actually a chap behind there as well. He's looking at the timetable as well. So hopefully that will come out. And there's the vending machine. And there's also a little girl there who's at the vending machine, who's checking out the sweets and the drinks. So she's going to try and see if she can get something before she goes on the travels, and there's the station name. So that's another little bonus, another little thing achieved. And it's also, hopefully you can also see the flooring as well, because I also did the flooring. Because these resin buildings that you get from Bachmann, unfortunately, if you don't do nothing with them, they literally show up all the floors. You might as well just sort of like being in one of those kind of galleries type thing, because you won't be able to see anything. It's just plain. So there's no point lighting up a building if you ain't got any detail. It's just almost sort of criminal not putting any kind of detail in it, because it will just show up so badly, especially when you get the camera truck around there. So anyway, so hopefully you can see all the detail and the few people that are in there and the signage and everything in there. So let's crack on with the project. So we're now at the front of the layout, and I'm just waiting for the soldering iron to sort of heat up so I can do the soldering. But whilst I'm just waiting for that to happen, I just wanted to mention a couple of comments that have come through already from the last video, and that is basically to sort of say, I can't remember who it was, I think his name's Ian, and he's asking me about foam board and where you can get it from. Now, I get mine from my local model shop, my local art shop, so I used to say model shop. So I've got an art shop, I'm quite lucky, I've got an art shop literally around the corner by the railway station, it's only about a 5-minute walk. And he does all kinds of stuff in there, foam board, paint brushes, paints, all that kind of stuff that you need to set yourself up. So if you want to get foam board, the best place to get it is from your local art shop, and I should imagine places like Hobbycraft will probably do it as well. So those are the sort of places you need to look at. I mean, obviously I don't know where you're based, but I guess if you Google search it, you can probably find somewhere where you can get it, or whether you can get it ordered online. But to be truthful with you, I'd probably rather just buy it and pick it up myself than get it ordered online, because if foam board gets compromised, you won't be able to use it, so you've got to be careful with it. So anyway, here is our module, and whilst we're talking about foam board, let me just lift this up, because I did say to you yesterday that this is it detailed inside, and it's detailed inside with foam board. Now there is foam board in there, and if you just prise it out, it's quite a tight fit, but that's a snug fit, which is really good. And then you can just pull it out, and oh, there you go. Like I said, it is a tight fit, and it's actually glued. That's what it is, right? So there you go. So there is the current LED, which is mounted there, and I painted that. But I now need to take that out. So that's done, and that's the LED that I was using. It's these two sort of LEDs, but what I want to do is use, I've got this little strip here, and mount that more centrally so it gives a more even light. So that's kind of what we're doing, and then there's actually some self-adhesive on the back of it, so that's kind of going to be my plan of action. So I will come back to you once I have done it. So I've now done the soldering, and as you can see, it's just a two LED strip, and it's got some electrical tape in there, and then I'll feed this down, the wire down, in the same way as I fed the wire down before. For those of you interested, you can get them in strips like this, except that this strip here I can't use because this is a 12 volt strip, whereas the strip that I've just used on there is a 5 volt strip, and all the other ones are 5 volt, but they do work on a 3 volt system, because that's what what I use is a multi-voltage regulator transformer, so I don't have to use resistors. So it's set to 3 volts, and it's powering these 5 volt ones here, and that's plenty of light coming out from there. So if I wanted to beef it up, I could actually turn the voltage, the transformer up to 5 volts, and it would still work without blowing the LEDs. But these are actually 12 volts, so these won't actually work. So in order to keep it consistent, that's why there's only 2. But then again, it was only 2 before. And so just to let you know, so you can get these things in rolls, these strips in rolls off of eBay, and you can usually get, you have a choice, you can buy them in 3, 5, I think 9 and 12, and you can get them in all kinds of lengths as well, I think. So depending on your needs, you know, if you've got a lot to do, then obviously go for the larger roll, but they're not terribly expensive. So that's all done, and then you just got to solder it in, and that's what powers up my buildings, the lighting, and it's a lot easier. Also, with the canopies, another reason for putting canopies on is that it's a lot easier to light up the canopy than it is to light up individual lights, and especially if you're working with foam board, where obviously, I mean, it's better than using a Metcalf, where sometimes you put the posts in and if, you know, they lose their kind of structure because there's nothing underneath to support it, so sometimes the lamps start going all floppy on you and all the rest of it. Whereas if you mount it, or you can just put a whole strip straight on the canopy and then just wire 2 wires to it, and that is it. and that's a lot easier to do, which is one of the reasons why I do use canopies quite a bit. And I'm no stranger to making my own. And this is just the kind of thing that you can make with foam board. It's nothing pretty, but you can see that obviously that's where the wire comes up through the bottom. And then this is obviously the detail of the guy working. He's got his little couch there, and he's got his levers and everything and all that kind of stuff, the bells on the top. And it's just a little something that you can see when you're looking through. You're not going to see this bottom bit, but the reason why it's stepped up like this is to stop this top part from falling down through the bottom, because there's no support underneath. So that's why it is like that. So we're just going to wire that in, back in, and then that will be that done. So as you can see, it's all kind of, you just feed it through. So that is now all in. And it's ready to be plugged in and tested and checked. And it should give a much more even light than what it did before, because like I said, you could see the light coming on one side before, and it would just, there's more light on one side than the other. So hopefully now this has got a much more even light to it. So we'll check that out. So before we do that, let's move on to the more fun stuff. Because to be honest with you, soldering isn't very exciting, especially for me. I don't particularly, me and electrics, I keep saying it, we don't get on. Just don't like it. It's one of those, it's the part of the hobby that I really, really don't like. I notice there are some people who love it and who go through the trouble of labelling it left, right and centre, which is great because at least you know what you're doing. But for me, me and wiring, we just don't get on. So now we're going to talk about making your own tufts. And this is what I mean by tufts. These are all these little bits and pieces that you see here that you can make yourself. Now, one of the things about doing static grass, and you can see how I've put all this static grass right up against the edge, and you can't get to the edges sometimes when you've got a static grass applicator. So you need to find a way of getting static grass there without necessarily needing the static grass applicator to get in there. So the way to do it is to work around it. So let me show you what you're going to need. So for our next part of Susannah's Come Build With Me, we're going to be learning how to make our own roughy tufty grass, static grass tufts. If you've got a static grass applicator, then there's no real need to go out and spend money on these products that you buy on eBay or wherever you buy them, whether it's from individual sellers or places like WWS. You can make your own and it doesn't cost you hardly anything at all. And I know that you go on, I've seen them on eBay and you get packs for they range from £5 to £8, I think some of them, and maybe more. And this is an expense that if you've got a static grass applicator, you can do without. You can make your own. And all you need is a few simple things. If you've got a static grass applicator, I've got one, which is this one. And this one is not an expensive one by any stretch of the imagination. This one cost me, I think it's about £30. But to be truthful with you, it is such a useful tool to have in the model community. I'm using it on my layout for so long now that even if I didn't have this, I would still go out and buy one and pay the initial outlay and then start doing this, because you'll get your money back for this easily. It's kind of like I said to you about making your own bushes. It's the same thing. You got the initial outlay of the grinder, but that's paid itself off in buckets. So, and this is the same thing. You know, even if you haven't got a static grass applicator, you can still get yourself one. This one, like I said, cost me about £25, £30, maybe even cheaper now. I haven't checked recently. And and you can make your own static grass and you can make your own tufts. And what you need is, like I say, static grass applicator, some grease-proof paper. It has to be grease-proof, so you go to your local supermarket, some grease-proof paper, and some PVA of your choice. It doesn't matter what it is, but just some PVA. And then obviously you need your static grass as well. I'm just using whatever I have to hand, and it really doesn't make a difference what you use. So that's just whatever you have to hand. Now you can actually buy static grass applicator kits online as well, where they give you like you can buy the static grass applicator, and then they also give you some static grass to go along with it for you to experiment with. So you can also, if you don't have like a static grass applicator, you can buy it as a kit. And I'm just throwing some of this stuff in here. This is a mixture of 7 and 4 mil. And I'm just going to throw that in there. And I might as well just throw the rest of that. You know, it's not the end of the world. So just get that. Right. So that's all in there. As you can see, all in there. And all you have to do is to make your own tufts. It's honestly so simple. Now, as you can see, I've still got some on here, and this is what it's going to look like when it's finished. Now, this paper, this greaseproof sheet, was actually full when I started it. I literally covered the whole lot in it, and this is what's left. So this is what I've been using. And as you can see, some of it's been used on here. So what you do is you don't have to be too specific or anything like that. Like I said, this is actually just quite fun. Now, I tend to do this late at night, and the reason why I tend to do this late at night is that I can be watching something on YouTube or something whilst I'm sitting here mooching around or whatever, and you can do some modelling late at night. It's not going to disturb your neighbours or anything like that, and you can sit here, do it, and then when you can go to bed, and then when you get up in the morning, this will be done. So I tend to do this late at night, the site ballasting, and all you're doing is you can see me just putting a load of dots. And it doesn't matter, I'm just putting it in places where I'm just doing this just because of the fact that I need some more myself. So right, so that will just do for now, just as an experiment. So now you can all see these are just some random dots on some greaseproof paper. That's all it is. Now it's up to you what you do next, but I tend to sort of smear it around a bit and just drag it out, maybe create some larger tufts or whatever on some places, and basically just see what sticks. So like I say, I'm not that bothered. It's just random tufts. And then with some, you might not just want very big, you might just want some small bits. So it's all just completely random, don't worry about it, what shape it is or whatever. You just smear it along. Right. So now, as you can see, probably, yeah, you can see where I've smeared it up. That's what you're thinking. What is she doing? Now, some people turn around and say that you need to sort of have this sort of connected to something, but I don't know. I just sort of go like that. I mean, there's no rails here or anything, and you just go over all the stuff. I mean, this has kind of worked for me so far, so I'm not that bothered. And you're going all over it. Just give it a good old shake all the way around. Right, don't forget to discharge it, otherwise you'll be in for a nasty shock, as I found out on a few occasions without realising it. Then what you do is you sort of curl it up in the middle, and you shake off all the excess onto a plastic sheet underneath. As you can see, you've got all these tufts stuck there. And some there, that's on the side there. Right, okay, so that goes. So you haven't wasted, you haven't hardly used anything. And then what you do is what I do anyway. Put it back in. Have another go. To make sure all the wet white glue it's all disappeared. Okay, discharge. Always remember to discharge. And once again, roll it up in the middle, get all the fibres. All the loose fibres out, give it a good old shake. Just move that to one side. There's some loose fibres there. Should have used a bigger sheet really, to be honest, but that's fine. And then this empty bag that I've got, I'll just use it as a sort of spare bag, and I'll empty the rest out onto that. So here you go. These are our tufts, and I don't know if you can see it, but they're all there. I'm just trying to see if I can show you, but you can definitely see that they're static grass and that they're standing up. And then what happens is, obviously this side we didn't do, all you have to do is just peel it off when it's dry. There you go. You just peel it off, and then you just PVA it down in one of the corners. Now, like I said, I do these lines as well, because the lines do go right up against the edge, so you can do the lines, do quite a thick line, and you can put it right on the edge and glue it right up against it, so like it's growing up in the cracks of the pavement and on the cracks of the sides of the walling. So it's easier to do it on this greaseproof paper, just literally do lines. So that's why you just sort of go, you do lines, or you can do shapes or whatever, it doesn't matter. Do little tiny little tufts, it doesn't matter what the shapes are. But like I said, if you're going to do them along the walls, then you just literally squeeze a line through. And then once that dries, you'll have a nice long line, and it doesn't matter if it breaks off, it's all part of it. But yeah, that's how you do it. So here we are, here's our little diorama that I've just done. I'm just going to put that little blob of super glue there, PVA, and that little tuft that we just took out, this little tuft, you just glue it down, just like that, and it's done. There it is, it's just there. So I guess there's only one thing left to do in this video before we call it quits, and that is we have to see the illuminations, don't we, and see whether or not my LEDs are actually working and whether or not they're giving the correct even light, and have a quick look round. So I'm going to spin the camera around, and then we're going to have a look and see how it all turns out. So here is my signal box, back in position with the LEDs on. Well, not switched on, but they're now fitted. Those of you who are eagle-eyed may have noticed that I've also managed to get the signage put on the front of it. So now all it needs is to be bedded in, but we need to check it first and see whether or not it gives a good, even light. Let's see. That is so much better, isn't it? That is so much more even. Let's have a look at it at night. So it's not quite dark, it's still dark, but I've managed to darken it down so you can see the effects. So as you can see, that is a much more even light across the signal box, as opposed to having it really bright in this corner and darker on this side. So I'm so pleased with that. And as we go around, as you can see, it is still daytime. And along here, that's also got interior in that as well. Now what I'm going to be doing is I will probably end up building the canopy for this side, and I may end up, if I do end up keeping that bridge, I will probably end up putting lighting on it, but I need to get some materials, and when I get those materials I will probably do a video on how to make your own canopy, your own customized canopy. And if that's something that you're interested in, then you can stay tuned and wait for that video. So just before we go, just to let you know that I've wired it up to the switch here, so that switch will control that lighting for Mordenston Station. This one is for the ambient lighting. It's got one of those Gauge Masters sort of country scene kind of things. And then this one powers up the signals, and that's on a 12-volt supply. Whereas this one is actually on a 3-volt supply. And even though it's running the 5-volt LEDs, so it's not actually cranked up to 5 volts, the transformer, like I said, it's actually on 3. So this concludes the end of today's video, and Susannah's can build with me. So you can see how I've done it. So you know, you've got to see how I change the lighting on it and what lighting I use. You've also got to see how I made the tufts, and in fact you actually got to see the interior as well, so how I kind of fit in the interior. And a nice thing about using foam board for your building interiors as a base is that if you make the foam board ever so slightly oversized to the gap underneath your building, then it gives a really nice snug fit, because the foam board is actually you can actually mold it a little bit and get it to fit, rather than have a hard surface like wood which doesn't budge. So you know, with a foam board as a base, you can sort of squeeze it in and fit it in and even push it in, even if it's snug, but it won't fall out the bottom, as you've seen. So anyway, that's the end of today's video, and my name's Susannah, and I live with trains. And goodbye. Take care.